Beef prices are soaring. This chart shows the average price of a pound of steak and ground beef over the past year.
Ground beef changed, or am I just completely crazy?
America is going through a beef fever like we've never seen before. At the end of the year, people flood supermarkets hunting down beef for the holidays. Prices hit record highs, but it still sells out. Stores roll out every kind of deal and bundle imaginable. But are you sure what you're buying is actually beef? You're going to feel sick when you learn the real tricks of the stores you've always trusted. Injecting salt water to increase weight, mixing scraps, tendons, and leftover fat, then gluing it back together with food-grade adhesive. Using toxic carbon monoxide gas to keep a fake bright red color. Marinating it with heavy seasoning to cover the smell of meat that's about to go bad. This is how they fool you. So what are the 5 supermarkets you need to avoid when buying beef for this Christmas? Watch this video to see how the food industry is deceiving millions of Americans. And on this list, the third name will be the most controversial place of all. Number 1. Dollar General. Did you know there are steaks cheaper than a can of soda, but once you cook them, they end up smaller than a bottle cap? And that's what they call beef. Sounds ridiculous, right? But you'll see them everywhere at Dollar General, Dollar Tree, or just about any discount chain across America. During the holiday season, with beef prices hitting the ceiling, a lot of people still try to buy a steak so they can have a decent Christmas meal. So they rush into dollar stores hoping to spend less and still get a real dinner. The problem is, what they get isn't steak. It's a recycled creation. Dollar stores have long been a lifeline for families on tight budgets, especially in rural areas. But when it comes to beef, especially steak, I'm sorry, this is the worst choice you can make. The steak here is usually frozen, poorly packaged, paper thin, but slapped with a huge label that says beef steak. It sounds fancy, but when you open it, it looks like roadside meat that's been pressed into a shape that seems respectable. You thaw it and water pours out. You cook it and it shrinks to half its size and the smell is bland. The texture is mushy, and chewing it feels like you're eating something with an unknown origin. How did it get this bad? Because most steak at dollar stores is utility-grade meat, the lowest grade the USDA allows to be sold. This is the kind of meat that isn't good enough to sit at a real butcher counter. But instead of tossing it, manufacturers decide to dress it up. They inject the meat with salt water and phosphate, sometimes up to 30% of its weight, to make it hold more water, look heavier, and feel wetter. Then they use something called transglutaminase, also known as meat glue, to bond scraps of meat back together. The result is a steak that looks whole, but it's not real meat in the way you think. Biologically, meat glued together with industrial adhesive doesn't have the natural muscle fiber structure. It can hold water well and create a fake juicy feel, but its nutrition value is very low. It loses elasticity, loses real flavor, and most importantly, it tricks your senses about what's real and what's not. For younger people, that might just mean a bad meal. But for older adults with weaker health, slower digestion, and a more sensitive immune system, this becomes a risky game. A lot of independent tests have been done, and can you believe this? A $1 steak from Dollar Tree can shrink down to less than 2 ounces after cooking, and the taste is like a shoe insole left out in the cold. On Reddit, plenty of people warn that meat from discount stores has weird texture, abnormal amounts of liquid, and often a strange smell after thawing. That isn't random. That's the product of an industry that knows you don't have money for better choices, so they give you what they think you'll accept. You might think, whatever, as long as it fills you up. But no. This isn't just about eating. This is about being disrespected. You deserve real meat even on a limited budget. And you absolutely can do that if you know where to shop. But dollar stores are not on that list. When cheap is the only reason you buy food, you're buying risk, not value. And that's only the first layer of the real and fake mixed together game in the beef world. Because sometimes what looks bright red and beautiful, sitting proudly in the meat case of a major supermarket, is an even more sophisticated scam. I'll tell you about that in the next part. Don't look away. Number 2, Walmart. Save money. Live better. That's Walmart's famous slogan. It sounds reasonable until you find out the bright red meat you just bought. There might have been fading since last week. And that red color isn't freshness, it's carbon monoxide. Walmart is the retail giant almost every American has visited. From toilet paper AA batteries and jeans that cost a few bucks to whole chickens or cheap ground beef, it feels like everything you need is there. And because of that cheap and convenient reputation, A lot of people trust it completely and assume it's a sensible place to buy food. But the truth is, if you've ever bought a tray of perfectly red, picture-perfect meat at Walmart and then felt disappointed when you cooked it, it's not because you cooked it wrong. It's because that meat was put in costume. Walmart mainly sells case-ready meat, meaning it's pre-cut and packaged at factories, hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles away from the store. After packaging, those pieces travel in refrigerated trucks and sit in display cases for days. Why does that matter? Because truly fresh meat changes color over time and it starts turning brown as it oxidizes. But at Walmart, that red stays red. It doesn't change. The reason is carbon monoxide, a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas that gets pumped into vacuum-sealed meat packaging. CO binds with myoglobin in the meat, creating a bright cherry red color and holding that color for a long time. The meat looks like it was just cut, but in reality it may already be losing quality, already starting to spoil from the inside. Your eyes see fresh. You trust your eyes, so you buy it. But you don't realize you just bought an illusion. This isn't fake meat, but the freshness is absolutely being faked. You think you're relying on instinct and experience when you pick meat, but in reality you're being controlled. That red color is no longer a sign of freshness. It's just chemical makeup. Worse, most shoppers, especially older adults, don't realize they're being played. To them, red means good meat. Red means lean. Red means worth buying. And Walmart knows that. Consumer Reports has repeatedly ranked Walmart's meat department as one of the most disappointing in America. Many people complain that the meat looks great, but cooks up bland, dry, and watery. Some Reddit users who worked in the industry have said, if you see meat that red in vacuum packaging, you should be suspicious instead of trusting it. You save a few dollars on a tray of meat, but what's the real price you're paying? You're trading away transparency control and even your health, just to get a red color that doesn't represent anything except industrial packaging tricks. And I'm not saying this to scare you or to make you boycott Walmart. The goal is to help you see the truth behind what looks harmless. If you choose to buy meat at Walmart, stay alert. Read the label carefully, check the pack date. And if you can shop somewhere, you can actually see the real meat, ask the seller questions, and trust yourself instead of trusting a sealed package. That red isn't freshness, it's a disguise. And real beef never needs makeup. But at least Walmart has never pretended to be a premium food destination. The next name is different. A brand everyone thinks is good, healthy, trustworthy is actually the most controversial name on today's list. And it might be the biggest shock you're about to hear. Number 3. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is so loved that many Americans are willing to pay extra, even when the quality of the beef is more disappointing than the cheapest place in town. That's not an accident. That's brand effect. And in the food world, when a brand is used to cover up quality, real value gets swapped out the moment you walk through the door. Trader Joe's doesn't sell fake meat. It doesn't sell pink slime. It doesn't inject salt water or pump carbon monoxide to keep a bright red color like Walmart. But Trader Joe's is great at something other places don't have, making you believe the meat in your hands is premium natural worth the money, just because of pretty packaging, a natural label, and the brand's premium vibe. This isn't a bargain market. Trader Joe's is positioned as different a place for smart consumers. You walk in and see vacuum-sealed meat, neatly packed balanced colors, packaging designed like a small gift. But because of that, you can't touch the meat. You can't check the true color, you can't test the bounce, you can't feel the marbling or surface moisture. And that means you've lost the ability to judge for yourself. You're putting total trust in the packaging. You might say Trader Joe's doesn't sell dirty meat. True. But they sell a dream of healthy food, a feeling that you're shopping smarter, cleaner, more trustworthy. And that dream isn't cheap. A lot of people notice that meat at the Trader Joe's often costs more than Walmart or Costco, but doesn't deliver matching quality. Some meat products carry labels like natural or grass-fed without clear explanation. The labels are applied in a clever way, but the sourcing and standards aren't transparent. The meat may come from suppliers that are just acceptable, but once it wears the Trader Joe's jacket, it suddenly gets priced higher. What's worrying is that sense of trust makes shoppers less cautious. They don't question, they don't check closely, and they pay more just to hold on to belief in a nice image. When you buy meat without truly seeing the meat, without controlling your meal, are you buying nutrition or are you buying a picture? I've seen plenty of complaints about Trader Joe's beef. On Reddit, someone said flat out, "I don't buy fresh meat here anymore. Too many bad experiences with spoiled food." Someone else said the meat looked fine but cooked up with a bad smell, poor texture, or a strong packaging odor. Shopping expert Laura Groitman has said, Trader Joe's meat can sometimes come in smaller weight while costing more than other supermarkets. Another person commented, I like Trader Joe's, but it's not where I buy meat. What about you? You might have bought meat at Trader Joe's many times. How was it? Did it match the image you've trusted all these years? That's why I call Trader Joe's fake at the most sophisticated level. Not because of open fraud, but because they create a space that feels so trustworthy that you stop checking the real value of what's in front of you. You pay for the feeling, for the brand, for the convenience of packaging. But are you sure you're getting high-quality protein, optimal nutrition, and real freshness? And it doesn't stop here. Because there's one more place that looks respectable, clean, and well-run on the surface, but hides tricks that are just as deceptive as the three names above. And it might completely change how you shop after this holiday season. Number 4. Target. Target can get you excited about buying home decor, makeup, household stuff. But if you think the beef here is just as cute as the brand, you're about to get laughed at by a harsh reality. I know you like Target, who doesn't? The store is clean. The lighting is easy on the eyes. Everything looks pretty. You walk in planning to buy one bottle of hand soap, and you walk out with a whole cart full of stuff. Target is great at making everything look adorable. Feel you have to buy this right now. But that's exactly why we make mistakes. Because that cuteness doesn't apply to beef. And that's why Target sits at number 4 on the list of places you shouldn't buy meat for the end of the year. First, Target isn't a traditional grocery store. They started selling groceries pretty late, and it wasn't until the 90s that they expanded into food. That means no long-standing tradition, no deep experience with meat like Kroger, Costco, or H-E-B. The beef here doesn't have a professional butcher team behind it checking and selecting. No one is carefully choosing each piece. No one is there to explain which cut is good and which one you should avoid. You're left with a pre-packaged piece of meat sealed tight with a sticker that looks fine at first glance, but in reality, who knows what's inside? I've tried it. One day I was in a rush, stopped by Target for a few things, and saw a pack of beef that looked pretty solid. Bright red color clear label, tempting promo. But when I got home and cooked it, it was completely different. Weak smell, loose texture, the meat lost moisture. Not bad enough to throw away, but clearly not what I expected. And I'm not the only one. On Reddit, plenty of people say it's straight when it comes to meat at Target, just skip it. They'll buy toys, cosmetics, snacks there, but meat is for a real supermarket. What puts Target on this list isn't that they sell dirty meat. It's that they trick your feeling. They make you think everything in this store is trustworthy. They make you believe if I trust Target for soap or face wash, then this beef must be fine too. But you're wrong. Target specializes in experience, not protein quality. They're good at making you feel okay, but they don't commit to the real quality behind the meat you put into your body. And that's the most subtle kind of fake. Not a chemical trick, but a brand trick. That's also why Target has never been on the list of places people recommend for buying meat. From price to quality, everything makes serious shoppers think twice. At Kroger, you can actually see the meat clearly and ask the butcher right there. At Sprouts, you can get grass-fed meat that isn't frozen with more transparent sourcing. At Target, you get pretty packaging and faith. I know some people will say, come on, the meat here isn't that bad. True, it's not filthy. But when we're talking about beef for Christmas, I don't accept good enough. You're not grilling a ribeye just to feel full. You grill it for the flavor to give your family the best experience to celebrate a year that's finally passed. And Target doesn't deserve that moment. Everyone has their own standards. I'm not banning you from buying meat here. But if you truly want to upgrade your meal quality, if you want control over what goes into your body, then Target shouldn't be where you choose your meat. Because the end-of-year meal isn't the time to gamble on a vibe. And if you think Target is the worst choice on today's list, wait for the last name. It's the strangest story, and it holds one of the biggest mysteries in the meat industry. Are you ready? Number 5. Tube packs of ground beef chub rolls at any supermarket. Surprised? The last name on today's avoid list is every supermarket. Not Walmart, not Target, not Trader Joe's. It's a type of meat that shows up almost everywhere, from high-end to budget, from big supermarkets to small stores. Those long plastic-wrapped cheap tube packs of ground beef sitting quietly in the freezer. The thing many people think is convenient, money-saving, harmless. But in reality, this is the clearest example of what fake meat looks like in modern food. Those tube packs often contain lean, finely textured beef, also known as pink slime. Just hearing it makes you not want to eat it. Basically, this isn't original beef in the normal sense. It's what's left after the good cuts have already been stripped away from bones and fat. Tendons, connective tissue, and fat scraps get separated, spun in a centrifuge, then treated with ammonia gas to kill bacteria. After that, the mixture gets blended back into ground beef to boost the lean percentage on the label. Is it legal? Yes. Is it allowed to be sold? Yes, but be honest with yourself, do you really think that's what you want to eat? Real beef has muscle fibers spring and a clear flavor when cooked. This stuff doesn't. It has lost its natural biological structure. It's a recycled product made from leftovers legalized through an industrial process. When you eat it, you're not eating muscle meat. You're eating an assembled version of meat. There was a time around 2012 when America was shaken by the pink slime scandal after people discovered it was being used in school lunches and many industrial products. When the press exposed it, many companies quietly pulled it from their supply chains. But then the noise died down. The name disappeared. The process stayed. And those tube packs kept sitting in freezers everywhere waiting for shoppers who don't notice. The problem is, you can't spot this just by reading the front label. On the package, it still says ground beef. It still lists a lean percentage. It still looks legal and harmless. But when you cook it, your body notices the difference. Many people describe burgers made from it as mushy, releasing a lot of water-tasting bland and lacking depth. That isn't random. That's the sign of something that isn't meat in the true biological sense anymore. So why do I call it fake not? Because it isn't from a cow. But because you think you're eating real ground beef when in reality you're eating a recycled product made from parts they used to not want you to see. Fake here is fake in essence, fake in biological value, fake in the eating experience, and saddest of all, fake in consumer trust. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm also not saying all ground beef is bad. But if you can't tell the difference if you shop by low price and habit, you can easily become the person paying for something that never should have ended up on your dinner table. Especially for older adults when the body needs high-quality protein that's easy to digest, accidentally eating stuff like this is a major disadvantage. And the truth is, no supermarket warns you. There's no big sign explaining it clearly. Everything gets wrapped up in one word, legal, and the rest becomes your responsibility. The responsibility to see, to smell, to feel, to read labels, and to avoid. That's why right after this, I'm going to share the beef buying principles I've built over years of shopping and working with food. Principles that help me spot fake meat in a sea of real meat. And more importantly, how you can protect yourself every time you walk into a supermarket, especially during the holidays when everyone wants a meal that feels worth it. Beef buying principles. How to avoid getting fooled at the end of the year. Let me be honest with you. Buying beef in America isn't just walking into a store and picking the piece that looks best anymore. It's a game. And if you don't know the rules, you always lose. Especially at the end of the year when beef is expensive and scarce, the tricks get even more sophisticated. And the most dangerous thing isn't spoiled meat, it's you thinking you bought something good when you didn't. If you don't understand how beef is graded, you don't really know what you're paying for. In the US, the USDA grading system is the first thing you need to know. Prime, Choice, and Select. Prime is the top tier, lots of marbling tender rich, you grill it, and you instantly understand why it's expensive. Choice is the safe pick, good quality, and if you choose the right cut, it can taste amazing. Select, I'll say it straight, it's not bad, but if you grill it like Prime, you'll end up with dry meat that makes your jaw tired. And worse than that are packs that don't clearly list a USDA grade. Don't let the words natural or fresh fool you. If it doesn't say Prime or Choice, that's not a standard that's marketing. But let's say you're standing at the meat case and the label doesn't tell you much. Then you have to use your body. Look, smell, and touch. Those three beat any advertisement. Good beef has a natural bright red color, not an intense painted red and not a tired gray. Smell it. Good beef has almost no odor or just a very light meat smell. If you smell sourness, sharp funk, or a weird artificial odor, I'm telling you, don't try to save a few bucks. Lightly press the meat, it should feel firm and springy. If it feels slippery, slimy, or mushy, even if it's still within date, I don't buy it. Then there's the thing so many people misunderstand fat. I meet too many people who avoid fat like it's a plague. But the fat we're talking about isn't a big chunk of white fat sitting on one side. What you need to look for is marbling those thin streaks of fat running through the meat. That's flavor. Marbling melts when you cook it. It holds moisture, it holds sweetness. A great steak comes from structure, not sauce. If a piece of meat looks bright red with zero marbling, don't expect it to be tender, unless you plan to braise it for hours. And here's the classic mistake: buying the right meat but using it wrong. Not every cut is meant to be a steak. Ribeye, New York strip tenderloin are made for grilling or pan-searing. Chuck or brisket are made for slow cooking. If you grill brisket fast and then complain it's tough, the problem isn't the cow. Knowing what cut you're holding is the fastest way to avoid disappointment at the table. The cattle's diet matters too, but don't turn it into a war. Grass-fed is usually leaner, has a stronger beef flavor and more omega-3. Grain-fed is softer, fattier, and easier for most people to enjoy. There's no absolute right or wrong, just what fits you. If you see grass-fed, grain-finished, that means the cow was raised on grass but finished on grain before processing. A compromise, not something scary like people make it sound. Finally, I want you to remember a few red flags to avoid. Ground beef with a pool of liquid sitting in the tray. Meat sealed so tight you can't really see what's inside. Packaging that looks too pretty, but the info is vague. That isn't random. That's how they take away your ability to judge. You don't eat packaging, you eat what's inside it. Now you're ready. In the next part, I'll tell you 2 places where you can confidently buy beef at the end of the year. Not because their ads sound good, but because they do the right things we just talked about. Number 1. Costco planning. Your Christmas night menu. Want a roast beef that's tender, juicy, and smells incredible without having to sell your favorite handbag to afford it? If yes, there's one name you need to remember. Costco, not a typical regular supermarket. Costco is where you can buy high-quality cuts of beef, even USDA Prime, at a price that feels almost unbelievable. A lot of people still think Costco is where you buy washing machines, TVs, and bulk toilet paper, but for me it's where you hunt for great meat. The reason is simple: they buy a massive volume sell with low margins and don't play flashy games. Meaning you're not paying for shiny packaging or some marketing campaign. Like beef marinated with love, you're paying for meat. And during the holidays, when beef prices outside are climbing like a rocket, this is a place worth putting your trust in. Costco sells USDA Prime beef. Sounds a little technical. This is the highest grade in the USDA system, making up less than 2% of all beef nationwide. This kind of meat has very even, fine marbling, which makes a steak come out juicy, rich, and deeply flavorful when you grill it. Normally to eat this, you'd have to walk into a high-end steakhouse and pay 3 to 5 times more. But at Costco, it's sitting in the cooler, ready to take home, no drama, no fancy words. On top of that, if you need to buy a lot for a big family, Costco lets you grab whole pieces, whole boxes, and the price gets even softer. As long as you have freezer space and you know how to store it, you can portion it out and eat well all winter without regret. And that's exactly why I recommend a Costco membership to anyone who's truly serious about their meals. Another impressive thing is consistency. Reddit, where people are brutally honest, has countless posts praising Costco meat quality, from ground beef to ribeye, from brisket to tenderloin. One user wrote that after comparing Costco with 3 other major grocery stores, only Costco gave him meat that cooked up with a beautiful color, stayed tender, tasted bold, and didn't dry out. Those are things no packaging can fake. You want clean beef, no added hormones, no GMOs. Costco has that too. They sell several organic ground beef options, so you don't have to run to Whole Foods and pay extra just for the green lifestyle feeling. They even carry imported Wagyu and American Wagyu if you want to turn your end-of-year meal into a real food celebration. Of course, nothing is perfect. Buying at Costco means you need to be ready for bigger quantities and you need storage space. Some of their ground beef uses blade tenderized processing, which means anyone who likes rare steak should pay attention. But if you know what you're doing, that's not really a downside. If you've never bought meat at Costco, this Christmas season is the perfect time to try. And if you've hesitated because of the membership card, think, again, is $60 a year worth it? If it helps you eat better meat at better prices with more peace of mind, I think it is. Number 2, Sprouts Farmers Market. A place you might drive a little farther, pay a little more, but you'll feel the difference from the first bite to the last. That place is Sprouts Farmers Market. It's not a nationwide giant like Walmart or Target, and it doesn't have Costco's mass reach. But if you truly care about beef, about real quality, and not just pretty red color or the word natural printed in big letters, Sprouts is worth considering. I know Sprouts isn't on every corner. Not everyone has been inside. And even if they have, a lot of people just swing through for a bag of organic greens, a jar of oats, or some healthy snacks. But the meat counter at Sprouts. That's where I want you to slow down and really look. Because here the difference starts with what big supermarkets have lost truth. The beef at Sprouts is something you can actually see. Clearly, the real color, the real grain, the real fat lines. Not red because carbon monoxide preserved it. Not steak scraps glued together with transglutaminase. Not ground beef mixed with pink slime. It's real beef. Sprouts is proud to offer USDA choice beef, and especially 100% grass-fed products. Not the vague grass-fed label you sometimes see at Trader Joe's. At Sprouts, when they say grass-fed, they actually have sourcing and traceability information. These cattle are raised on pasture-eating grass, out in the open, not stuffed with corn and soy in tight feedlots. And you know what that means? It means less saturated fat, higher omega-3, more CLA, and of course a more natural flavor, better tasting, healthier, and more honest. I've tried the ground beef at Sprouts, and the difference is obvious. It doesn't leak water when you cook it, it smells good. It's not fishy, and the texture feels natural. The steaks are cut clean, feel solid, and have a deep, natural red color. Not that bright fake red. And if you want a proper ribeye sirloin or filet mignon, the butcher here can cut it exactly how you want. You don't have to be a restaurant chef to make a Christmas steak dinner at home that makes everyone say, wow. You just need the right ingredients. I know prices at Sprouts might not be the cheapest, but you're not paying for a brand image. You're paying for transparency, real meat quality, and peace of mind when you cook for the people you love. I've said it before, beef doesn't need pretty packaging, it needs truth inside. At Sprouts, you can see that truth the moment you look at the meat. America loves beef. Americans go crazy for beef, especially at the end of the year, even though beef prices are at record highs. A lot of people believe the beef in supermarkets is real worth the money and truly safe. But you just saw it. The truth isn't that simple. Some bright red meat is just an illusion preserved by carbon monoxide. Some steaks are nothing but scrap salt water and industrial glue. Some stores aren't dirty, but they sell you premium deception wrapped in pretty packaging and a respectable brand. And there are some kinds of meat that the moment I see them, I know this is something they use to not want you to see. You can agree with me or not. You can think Trader Joe's is still good. Or I've bought Chub rolls my whole life and I'm fine. But at least now you know that not all meat is truly real. Not all expensive meat is good, and not everything familiar is trustworthy. If you found this useful, share it with your family. And don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to keep breaking down the most controversial topics in food health and how we spend money to live right and live real.